Welcome to this podcast. Is making me thirsty, the number one destination for Seinfeld fans. This is episode 147. Today's guest is an actress who's appeared in over 200 TV shows and films, including Cobra, Field of Dreams, Golden Girls, Friends, Everwood, Lenny, The West Wing, Dead to Me, and of course, she played Claire, the waitress at Pete's Luncheonette in the Seinfeld pilot episode, The Seinfeld Chronicles. Please welcome Lee Garlington. Lee, thanks for joining.
My pleasure. Glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
What a career, Lee. I mean, but take us back. I know it's been almost 30 years now that the Seinfeld pilot aired in July of 1989.
Is that when it came on?
Yeah, I think it taped in April. So take us back from what you remember. How did the role come about? Was there an audition process? Obviously, this was a pilot, so really interesting how they kind of cast from that in the beginning with the likes of Mark Hirschfeld, et cetera. But would love to hear how the role came about. Did you have to audition for it? A little bit about that process 30 years ago.
Yeah, not much of a process. Your agent calls and says, we have an audition for you, and you say okay, and you show up. That's the process.
And that audition, who's in there at that point? Is it Jerry and Larry?
The first audition probably because Mark Hirschfeld we weren't like friends outside of show business, but he's somebody I had known for years, and I was already a working actress, so I don't think I had to go in for a pre-read or anything. And I don't remember who was in the room. And then, it was testing. It was Claire was initially a series regular. There was no Julia Louis-Dreyfus for the pilot. So it was me and the boys. And so then you go to the network and you do it, for the studio, and then you do it for the network. And then you have a free food day as everything leaves your body the second it goes inside while you're waiting to find out whether or not you got the part. And
right.
I think we shot the pilot for, if memory serves, like 2 weeks. I usually pilots back then, even sitcoms, I think, might have been 10 days. I don't remember.
Do you recall how much time between like the audition and the shooting? Like, I guess what I'm getting at is because it's a pilot, there's nothing there yet, right? They're starting.
Not a lot. There's not a lot of space. Once you get, it moves pretty quickly usually. Okay. I don't honestly remember, but usually you get the pilot on a Wednesday, you start the following Monday.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. And you've clearly done a ton of pilots. So,
I have.
Your agent calls you and says, hey, there's this show, this stand-up comedian. Like, what did you know going in, like, about Jerry Seinfeld?
Nothing.
Anything?
Not a thing. But that's my norm. I usually don't know. I'm like, ignorant.
Yeah, you worked with a lot of stand-up comedians, too.
Well, I did. That was the whole thing
Lenny
in the
Clark
90s was all about, stand-up comedians get a series and then they get a professional actor to be their wife. So I did that. I did it with Ernie Cabello, Lenny Clark.
Lenny Clark, yeah.
I think there was, in that one we did 16 episodes of Lenny. And I think there was another one too where I played a comedian's wife. I don't remember. I just had a girlfriend send me a picture. She said, I'm in the basement doing my laundry and I have the TV on and look who shows up. And she sends me a picture and you're in a Christmas movie. And I'm like, well, what was it? And she goes, oh, I don't have the title. And I said, who's in it? And she said, I don't know. And she sent me a couple pictures and not a clue. I looked at the pictures going, I don't remember this. I don't remember.
Let me ask you this. If you remember this, the sort of like the vibe on the set as far as like it being a pilot, like what was the overall, I guess, temperature read on those guys? Were they, especially like afterwards, were they thinking like this is in the bag? Were people nervous? Any talking like that? Did you get a sense of, or was just kind of, another day at the office kind of thing?
Because it didn't go on right away. I think they were thinking about it original. It came on as a mid-season replacement, right? Or something. I don't think it started on the fall lineup.
No, it actually, it aired July 5th, believe it or not. Like it
would have been a summer, like, let's try this one out here. So it didn't initially make the fall lineup. And I know Larry, Reiner's son.
Yes.
Rob Reiner.
Rob Reiner, yeah, Castle Rock.
I'm a big fan of his, but Rob was one of the producers. I remember he was there the taping night. I don't remember seeing Larry David on the set. I'm sure he was there. I was fairly newly sober at this point, and I have to say it was, the beginning of a new life for me. And I don't really remember a lot of details from that part of my life. So I had a lot of fun with the boys. I was only in I think 2 scenes or something. So you just hang out in your dressing room, and most of the time Jerry and Michael and Jason and I went to lunch almost every day on the commissary on the lot. And it was a very pleasant experience. A lot of fun.
That's great. And let's be honest. I mean, when I think of the pilot episode of Seinfeld, we think of you. I mean,
yeah,
you brought that kind of New York attitude to a waitress, and I loved, decaf left, regular right. That's always in our head. And you tell George it's very challenging work, and kind of that, I don't know, smirky kind of way, dry. Yeah.
I have to tell you honestly, I've never seen it.
You've never seen what?
I've never seen the pilot.
Really?
I've never seen most of what I've done. So I'm terrible that way. There's a few things like, Field of Dreams or things that are classics that I've seen, but I will have people come up to me in elevators or on a cruise ship and start saying, I don't know that's what they're doing, but they're saying my lines. And I just stand there like, what? I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, what? And because I don't remember. And then also when you're shooting something, half the time it doesn't end up being the name it was when you were shooting it. So they're saying, I saw you in so-and-so. And I'm like, I never did that. That wasn't me. They go, yes, it was. And they'll show me a picture. I go, okay, that's not what the title was when we shot it. So I don't know.
I mean, actually the title of the Seinfeld Chronicles changed as well when they did syndication. They had to change the good news, bad news. So that's funny. But yeah, just kind of getting back to that. I mean, this is obviously, you're in the first scene of the entire series, right? So it's kind of set. It's the very first scene of the entire series. It's like O'Hara said, setting the tone. You're kind of the wisecracking, New York waitress, where they're going to be spending their time. At that time, obviously you had no idea the show would become what it would become. But when you were there, was there any sense to you, because you had, like you said, you've done a lot before that. Was there any sense to you, like, this show has something, this guy Jerry's onto something, Jason's a great actor? Any vibe where you were like, you saw a glimpse of like what it was going to become? Or was it more like, well, that was a nice day's work and we'll see how it goes? Like, on that scale, like, where were you on, like, this is going to, blow up, or, that was a dud? Like, how was from your perspective?
I'm so disappointing to you guys. I have no memory. I don't remember what I thought. I mean, it was a lot of fun. The work was fun. It was a good time. But you always hope something will go unless somebody's really awful on it, which was not the case here. I mean, my very first pilot I did, I played a very famous actress's daughter, and I've never prayed so hard for something not to be picked up because she was crazy. But this one was not that. This was fun and everybody was good. And I don't remember, I know we did it in front of a live audience, and usually you do at least twice, sometimes 3 times back in that era when it was, the multi-camera. And I don't, I can never tell. I mean, usually, especially when I'm in theater, I'm doing a play and I'm working with my actors and I think it's fabulous. We're all fabulous. And then people are like, oh my God, Lee, why did you do that? I'm like, so this one was just, I always thought I think I was surprised it didn't go in the fall lineup, as I recall. But I I thought, Jerry was very funny. I mean, it was, oh God, I wish.
Yeah, it was different from your standard sitcom, right? And he did the stand up and all that stuff. I mean, you were on, Amen, Family Ties, like real sitcoms versus these weren't sitcom guys. These are Jerry, stand up comedian, his buddy Larry. They didn't really know anything about sitcoms. So from that perspective, it sounds like they were pretty impressive early on. Obviously, they had to make some tweaks. Unfortunately, you were one of those tweaks, which honestly we disagree with. That's why I'm curious. Originally, when they told you that you were going to be a regular, what did that mean? Did that mean you were just going to be the waitress? Were you going to be like one of their friends? Did they delve into that at all?
No, I just had a series regular contract, and then they didn't pick up my contract after we shot the pilot, which happens. And I know that I have heard, that Julia and Larry were friends from Saturday Night Live. And when they initially shot it, she wasn't available. She was doing something else. And then I think that thing didn't get picked up. And then they went, ooh. And then they got Julia Louis-Dreyfus to be a friend. I mean, I don't think they ever replaced my character, did they?
No, they did. That's part of Chris's question, I think, too, is like, they could have had you both, right? You could have been in the Luncheonette, interacting.
Yeah. Didn't happen.
Yeah, it's interesting because at that point, you're like you said, the contract's not renewed for the 4 episodes, and the 4 episodes are barely even getting picked up, right? From everything we've gathered, they picking up a show for 4 episodes in the summer is not really, a thrilling endorsement either, right? So they were barely hanging on at that point, no matter what they were doing, right?
Didn't that also happen to Cheers? Wasn't Cheers one of those shows where they're like, I don't know, I don't think so. We'll throw it on in the fall, see what happens. I mean, I think there's been a history of, really promoted shows that bomb and then like little like, I don't know. And then they become these monster hits.
Yeah, and listen, Seinfeld didn't become a monster per se until they put it on after Cheers, to your point, right?
Is that right?
That's right. I mean, Wednesday nights, the show before they moved to Thursday was getting like, 11 to 15 million viewers versus Wings was doing 25 million on Thursday night. So it depends where you are. Obviously,
boy, they don't. Those numbers aren't like that now, are they?
Oh no!
No.
10 million,
like smaller, right? Because there's so many different platforms, and yeah.
So speaking of different platforms, would love to talk about, I know you just filmed, and I just watched it, Dead to Me, which I thought you were fantastic in.
Oh, thank you.
Tell us a little bit about that experience. And I don't want to say it's like Seinfeld, but all of a sudden you were gone in that show too. I wanted more of you.
Well, this was their last season, and I think I did the 6th episode. I did watch that. My husband and I because we watched the series. And, Christina has MS. I think she's been pretty out there. So it was it was interesting watching it, because we just watched we kind of watched it over a few days. And it's like that thing of like watching Linda Cardellini's character go through kind of what Christina's going through. And I thought, oh my God, this must have been so interesting for both of them, such a close reality to what's going on, but the roles are switched, and they're lovely women. It was one of those, gorgeous chicks rule, girls rock kind of, everybody, the showrunner, the director, the DP, the whole vibe is very female, and very supportive. I know I can't remember, we did it last November, maybe a year ago. But I think it was 2 or 3 days. And I think on the second day, James Marsden wasn't in any of the scenes that I was doing, but it was Christina's birthday. So he came in with, a cake the size of Manhattan, and there was a big celebration. And it was just, everybody on the set was just really supportive, and giving and taking care of what was going on. It was very private and professional and heartfelt, and it was very moving.
Yeah, and I think cancer hits us all, and your character brought just a real sense of levity to a difficult situation. So, in a little way, it reminded me of Claire from the Seinfeld Chronicles. In a way, just that little kind of wise guy, carefree attitude, and you brought it. So
the more mature Claire.
I noticed you right away. You didn't age a bit, so you look great.
Oh, right? Yes. Thank you. I hold my wedding picture up and go, look, see, exactly the same.
Yeah. Speaking of wisecrack, and like I was mentioned, I mean, we brought it up earlier, but working with Lenny Clark, that guy's a character and a half. No, I mean, just looking at with so many different of these kind of iconic sitcoms. I mean, stand-up coms that we talked about earlier. Like, Tim Allen, Roseanne, Grace from Grace Under Fire, and you get Lenny Clark. I mean, Lenny Clark has got to be one of the most fun guys to work with on a set, I would imagine.
Yes, I loved.
Is there any stories that come to mind working with him?
That was fun. I mean, it's so funny. The show closed, and like a week later, I met my husband. That's when and what was funny is he had worked. He was an IA. He was a lighting guy. He had worked on the show. He had worked on an episode of the show, and we didn't meet, which I find funny. We had the same director, Andy Cadiff, directed almost every episode. One of my dearest friends in the world, Esther Himba Treadway, was our scriptie, and she became one of my best friends. And it was just there's so many anecdotes and stories, and it was just a very that was a very fun time. Those 4 months we did that was a blast.
That's great.
I wish if they hadn't felt so highly of us. I mean, the problem was they put us on opposite Wonder Years. There was no way.
Yeah.
If they'd given us a different time slot, I think we would have run for 5 or 10 years.
So that was a different time back then, right? It was kind of that time slot. Even with Seinfeld, we talk about it all the time, right? We were watching on Wednesdays, but not a lot of people were apparently, and you got that Cheers slot, and it kind of took off. But
1989 was a interesting year for you. With obviously Field of Dreams was a huge hit.
Is that when we did that?
Yeah, I was curious. Is 1989? It came out, same like Seinfeld. When did you film? I'm assuming you filmed Field of Dreams before Seinfeld. Your memory's so good from 30 years. I know you're going to know this answer.
I don't remember. That was in Iowa. I know we went out to Iowa for that. I have no memory. I don't know when we shot it. Oh God, and that was like my Phil Alden Robinson. I've been very blessed. He calls me his good luck charm, and he's put me in all of his movies that have white people. He did do one film that was pretty much all black, but I've been in 4 of his films. And at one point when we did Sum of All Fears, he had my character say, and be sure and look up so-and-so. And then he was very disappointed in me that I didn't know that was my name from another film.
Huh.
I'm like, please, my memory, don't hate me.
Oh, Sum of All Fears with Affleck?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Phil directed that. Yeah. That's where I met my boyfriend. I have a picture of me and my husband, and then me and my boyfriend Morgan Freeman. They're over here on the show.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, we touched on Jerry, but really, like, you're in the scene with Jason, and to our understanding, you're still a little bit friendly with Jason, perhaps, or at least.
Yeah, Jason just directed me in 20. What year is this? 2022. 2021 was COVID. 20. So I think it was 2019. I did a play called The Joy Wheel, and Jason's very best friend is a friend of mine named Gina Hecht.
Oh, yeah, friend of the show. We spoke with Gina.
Yeah. And Gina said, I want you to come audition for this other role. It's for, I'm doing it, and Jason's directing. There's 4 characters. And so that was fun. I went, and Jason directed us for 6 weeks, and we think it was
had you known him before the pilot of Seinfeld also? No. Okay. Wow. Cool.
Because he didn't meet Gina until I think they met on Seinfeld, right? She did a character on Seinfeld.
She did, yeah, Dana Foley, yeah.
And that's when they maybe it was something else. I think it was then, and then they became like best buds, and and then we were really good friends. So
any interaction with Michael Richards on set? I know he wasn't in your scenes, but he was also a little bit low key.
Oh yeah, on set. I mean, we
set,
would lunch every day. I mean, yeah.
And he pick up. I mean, he wasn't even. He was like just finding Kramer at that point, so he wasn't doing his whole door thing, which we've heard so much about. I'm wondering, he must have been a little bit more subdued behind the scenes, or.
God, was it? I think he was kind of who you think he is, as I recall.
Fair enough.
Have you interviewed them for your podcast?
Not Michael Richards or Jason Alexander, no. But
you want Jason?
Yes.
I could call Jason. I'll ask Jason if he'd be willing to do it. Have you ever approached him?
Yes, times. He said he'll come on after Jerry comes on, and he gave us a wink. But no, he's well. Listen, honestly, we're trying to chronicle this show, right?
Yeah.
We think this show is actually, the main 4 are great, but I think this show was built on its writing and actually the guest stars, right? These guys let the guest stars shine. Mm-hmm. You weren't a guest star per se, but I would still say,
I think ultimately that's exactly what I was.
Yeah, that's fair.
And and they let you shine. And listen, you mentioned this. They replaced Jerry's dad, Morty. They replaced Frank Costanza, but they never replaced your character, which was, like I said, very interesting. So, we wish you would have stayed on, but it is what it is. You clearly didn't miss a beat. I mean, man, over 200 appearances.
Well, it says that, but it's much closer to 300. I'll tell you.
Wow.
They don't have every episode of every show. Like I just did 3 episodes of P-Valley, and I think they only have 1 or 2 on, and they don't put everything down there because it's like, I know I work more than that.
Yeah, and then you spend time.
That's a humble brag if I ever heard one.
That's a T-neck girl right there.
There you go.
And then obviously you're doing plays and things like that.
A lot of theater. Whenever I can. Yeah.
So yeah, Jason, you mentioned Gina Hecht. I think we got to check this, but I think she actually tried out for the role of Elaine. Was one of the many who tried out for that as well. Yeah, so maybe there was another early connection there with Jason for sure. So you got lunch with these guys every day. It felt like it was like a boys' club, right? And you were kind of the only girl on set. I know Pamela Brawl, who played the love interest. I don't know if you remember her. She was the only other, I guess, guest star from that first show.
I don't remember the boys club vibe. I've heard that from other people. I don't remember, but period. You can start right there. But I didn't have any feeling of like
not fitting in, right?
Yeah, like I wasn't allowed to play. I felt as comfortable as, I don't remember any discomfort. It felt great.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, that there's nothing there that would have, you didn't leave. I mean, you tell us, I don't know if this is a question you want. I mean, did you leave? Obviously it's not great to not get picked up, but I'm sure as an actress, those things happen in your career other times, right? So I'd have to assume you didn't leave with ill feelings towards that. It was just one of those things that just, they went a different direction, right?
Oh yeah, not at all. I mean, it was a job. I was done. I moved on.
I mean, I know our fans and Seinfeld fans are, around the world are obviously you're you're a huge part of the show and one of those like kind of iconic. It's like an iconic role, like you said, the first scene, right? The first scene ever.
I didn't even know it was the first.
Yeah, and it's like you don't, and then so you're like getting to talk to you for us is a huge thing, just so you know, because it's not every day that like, that role can be remembered, like O'Hara said, right? So I just wanted to tell you that I'm glad you joined us to have this talk.
Thank you.
Even if you didn't remember a lot, it's 40 years ago. That's understandable, right? I mean, but it's just great that that, like you said, there's no real feelings. You're still, in touch with Jason and things like that. That's just great to hear.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's funny, Mikey
Richards.
Thank you. Jesus. Michael lives in my cousin's neighborhood. So she used to see him on a regular basis. Like literally they lived one street apart. So she would tell me she would say hi to him for me and stuff. Never seen Jerry since. I don't know if he would know me if he fell over me. But I see Jason. Jason also does improv with some friends of mine. He shows up periodically. And so I've seen him many times over the year do improv. He's very funny.
He is very funny. I mean, the show is funny. At the end of the day, even in that first episode, it didn't get picked up right away. It took another year, but you could see the seeds, and then you helped plant those, right? Just you kind of there with Jerry and George and them kind of bantering and playing off you. It's good TV. It's really good acting. And then, like I said, 35 years later, I'm seeing you do that in Dead to Me. It's remarkable. And it's like you in a scene with two friends, and just the way you play off that was mind blowing to see that similarity 35 years later. So, thank you for that. Anything else you remember? I mean, like, that call, like your agent said, "Hey, you got the job," or any of that you recall? Or was this, I mean, you did so many pilots. Was it I think every job's a big deal. I'm not downplaying that, but did you feel like this was this just different? And, how excited were you at the moment that you kind of recall about?
Well, I think you're always excited when you get a pilot because you're getting some big bucks.
Right.
And I did 9 pilots in 10 years, and 4 of them went to series, albeit briefly. And I thought that was normal. I thought that's what all actresses were doing. I really didn't get at that time how freaking blessed I was. That was kind of amazing. So every time I got a pilot, it was like, yes, another notch on the belt. Yeah, kind of thing. And so I don't remember I had no particular feeling about this one. I mean, usually I was much more of the female lead. This was not like that. This was very ensemble, and I was a smaller part. So it was like, oh, okay, let's try this. So
yeah. Did you?
I have to ask, why do you have this triangle around you, Chris? You're the light in your thing. You're very you're at the apex of a triangle. It's very nice.
Me, like you, I'm in the attic. So
not the attic, the penthouse executive suite, please.
This is called the Penthouse Podcast Studio. Yes.
Oh, there you go. I'm sorry, Tony. You were going to ask something.
No, I was just curious. I mean, it's a question I got to ask. You said you didn't watch yourself in the show, right? In Seinfeld, you didn't watch yourself in many things. Did you end up watching Seinfeld at all throughout the years, or you kind of just, you're not a TV watcher in general? You just not watch it? Did you ever kind of peek in?
I think I've seen a couple episodes.
Yeah.
The one you should watch is with Gina Hecht and Jason. They are remarkable together. Just laughing, and she's his psychiatrist. So if you can imagine.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
But Lee, this has been great. Thanks for sharing the memories, albeit 35, 34, something.
Albeit very limited ones, but yes, my pleasure. Thank you for being so patient with me. I'm sorry I'm not a better rememberer, but
well, you're unforgettable, so that makes up for the.
Oh, okay, good.
And do yourself a favor, just watch the first episode one of these days. I think you'll enjoy it.
I think I have, you know, back in the day when you used to put everything on
VHS,
but the big fat ones, like 2.5 for professional actors. Instead of just putting it on regular VHS, you put it on the heavier duty, larger one.
Mm-hmm.
You got better quality. So I know I have my scenes on there somewhere, but God knows what you would play those on now. So, but I know I have it somewhere in my possession.
There you go. Well, it's on Netflix right next to Dead to Me. So for all you guys out there, check it out, and be sure to check out Lee. She's fantastic in Dead to Me. So thanks so much, Lee.
Thank you, Lee. This was great.
Thank you. It was a real pleasure.
Have a good night.
You too.